my name is Jonathan. I'm an alcoholic. I didn't obviously, like, you don't prepare anything, but just driving up here, the kind of 50 different emotions that I experienced, from like crying to like laughing my head off and screaming, and like all of those kinds of things, just was a perfect reminder of just how insane I am and why I need to be here, because I really don't know how to deal with or process things, you know. I'm an alcoholic, and I've been an alcoholic, and I really truly believe it's something that I was born with, because when working the steps, it became so clear to me how absolutely incapable I was of dealing with life or feeling like I was a part of like anything from a very young age. And yeah, like I'm 22 now, and just my earliest memories are always like my earliest memory stands out as something to do with rejection. You know, it's something about me and my sister, and it involves like just being rejected. Like, and it's the most arbitrary thing, but for some reason that stuck out to me, and that's the earliest thing I can remember. And going on from there, like my early childhood. I mean, I grew up in like I grew up in a family that was incredibly caring and loving. My parents are still together to this day. I've been living with them for the past year. And yeah, like I grew up in a really good home. I really can't blame them or fault them for anything. They do drink. They maybe have like one beer a night, and just they don't have to tell themselves. They don't have to have, you know, the whole six pack. My sister's the exact same. And yeah, I don't know. Like people have asked me in this year, like, you know, they interrogate, like, is it because you were adopted? Is it because of this? There's no premeditating factor. And yeah, I went to great schools, and I had some friends, but I think that what showed up for me, the first place that my disease really reared its head was in its dishonesty, because I think there was something within me that really and it was like my first drug of choice was dishonesty, because there was something within me that was almost like determined to make me feel like I wasn't good enough. There was just this gap in me that was determined. I was never good enough for anything. I was never good enough for my parents. So, and it's all paranoia, because this is all like things that I've discussed with them, and this is all in my head, you know. So they preferred my sister, you know, in my head, and I was never good enough at school, you know. So I either got way too good marks, or I rebelled, and then I tried the opposite, you know. And I keep just trying new things to try and, I don't know, prove to myself that I was worth it, or prove to myself that I would fit in. And then I think I just, like, at some point or another, it just became, I picked up dishonesty, and it just flowed from there. And it started out with exaggeration from a very young age. And my dad always used to tell me, like, you know, you speak rubbish. You're just speaking rubbish. Like, and I did. And like, I still can do that. You know, exaggerate a story. Like you make something a little bit more exciting, because you're just so desperate to like entertain people or feel like affirmation or something. So you exaggerate a story. Like, people will go down to the beach, and I've concocted something about how my godbrother's gone on like some boat trip and discovered an island, you know. And it went from that, and it kind of just morphed into like when I went primary school, how things were there. It was just a case, I used to just lie about money, because for some reason I kind of had this messed up idea in my head that if I had like money, which I didn't come from like excessive wealth or anything, but if I had like money, then people would not be able to, like, it didn't, like, people would like me, you know. I'd have things, and then people would be attracted to me. And like I really like pushed my parents, you know, through manipulation and like being like a demanding son and that kind of thing, to almost like let people buy into it, you know. So like I pushed them to get me nicer things, you know, and that was where it just was a case of I couldn't handle life, you know. I was dishonest to the point that I was willing to like hurt other people around me, hurt people that cared about me, to kind of cater to a lot of people that, I mean, a majority of people who I definitely haven't seen in the past year, let alone 10 years, you know. And that's terrible when my family are still around. And yeah, flip. I'm trying to like it goes on. I mean, like the attention seeking, that's always been huge. The arrogance, the selfishness, it's always been there. I think it picks up. It kind of like starts somewhere. Like I pick up arrogance, and I tried out one time as a defense mechanism to cover like insecurities or something, you know. And like a big thing that stands out for me is I don't know, like getting like when I got my first when I got my first girlfriend, that kind of thing it kind of stuck out for me because there was a lot of insecurity around that because I felt like, I don't know, for some reason that made me feel vulnerable. It made me feel like insecure. Maybe not everyone's going to think she's pretty enough. Maybe not everyone's going to think that to cover that up, I'd just be overly arrogant about it and shove it in everyone's face because that's the kind of way that I've always done things. I've always worked my life through with defense mechanisms. And instead of facing things head on and accepting the things that I feel and accepting the way that my life's going, I kind of just cover it up constantly with defense mechanisms. And I think that this can easily lead to me to just go into this huge tumble dryer thing of self-pity and self-analysis. But I think one of the most incredible things that was ever said to me was said, it was in my life story, and I came to this treatment center. And someone was like, you've got all these ideas on what's wrong with you and how things are messed up and this obsession with am I straight, am I gay, and all of this kind of thing, and I kind of just pushing it on everyone. And the only thing that was said to me was the only thing that you need to be obsessed about or worried about is how supremely fucking selfish you are. And that has been my reality, and that has been the reality that I've had to confront in recovery. Going back a little bit, I picked up my first drink when I was 17 years old. My parents were heavily anti us drinking illegally, anti all forms of drugs. To them, there's no levels. There's no I might as well have picked up a needle when I picked up a cigarette. So to them there was no kind of levels. Anyway, so I had a drink when I was 17, and I must be honest, I never had that thing of some people pick up a drink and then they just go all slow. I didn't have that. Picked up a drink, and there was a degree of it's honestly, it's just my reality. I got drunk the first time I picked up a drink, but and I got drunk pretty much every single weekend after I'd picked up a drink. But there was something left in the bottle, and I wasn't vomiting and passing out. So I liked the feeling, but it took me a while to get so besotted with the feeling that eventually ended me up here. So yeah, like I say, part of it was a defense mechanism. I'd just broken up with my first girlfriend, having to confront my whatever realities and everything, and being just a bit of an asinine person to be around. People don't always stick around you when you're just a bit of a douche. You're not willing to confront it. Yeah, I just started drinking a lot because I realized that when I drank, all of those major insecurities that I kind of felt and all of the major things that I had to deal with, they just kind of just take a drink and it just slipped away. And I didn't have to deal with my reality. I didn't have to deal with the reality that my attitude was going to get me fired from a job someday. I didn't have to deal with the reality that me and my parents had no relationship and that I lied to them all the time. I didn't have to deal with all of those things. It was just poof, have a drink, and then it just went from there. Life kind of went on kind of making just sort of stumbling through life. I made it through matric I did fairly well, and then I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to move out of home because my parents are the problem, so I need to move out, and then I can be myself, and then I can express myself, whatever, and so I went to varsity. But so much to denial because 3 weeks into varsity I moved in with someone who then started looking after me. I moved in with the new girl, so it was a case of I needed to be looked after. I needed someone to babysit me, and I remember so heavily that for me it's a disease of trying desperately to fix off things and cope with life, so I don't have to face reality. That's kind of how I describe it, kind of how I understand it. And for me, what or how much I used, it's really irrelevant. It's a case of how I just fixed off things. So when I was in that relationship, one of those those super connected relationships. It was connected. When you just codependent, there's unhealthy relationships. I was in one of those, and so I'd fix off that, so I could go have my 1, 2, and then I'd go nuts. Once a month, I'd go absolutely nuts. I'd go out, I'd pick up a new drug, I'd do that kind of thing, and I'd come home, tail between my legs, and I'd apologize, and I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. All impulsive, moved in after 3 weeks. Just a complete. It had its moments, but the long and short of it is, it was a compulsive relationship, and I fixed off of it heavily. I think that when things really went off the, when things really went off the, when I don't know how to say it politely, when things got messed up, it was when I broke up with her, like being like making decisions and not being able to handle life. I literally sat up in bed once and I was just like, nope, it's over. And I drove to Cape Town and I didn't come back for 6 days. And it was just one of those things where that was like 6 months before I went into treatment, and I was just a blur. It was just a blur of non-stop, like, everyone else is the problem. So then what I'd do is I'd drink. I'd meet someone, I'd like start hooking up with them, and I'd be like, okay, this person will look after me or fix me or whatever, or pay for me for something, because geez, that shit gets expensive. And then I just went and like I just did that, and then I'd fly home. I'd call my dad because like go back to the old thing, and I'd call my dad and I'd be like, I need to come home because things are not okay here. And I just remember the second time I flew home, I came here into treatment. The first time I flew home, I went to a psychologist. Before I even made it to the psychologist, I'd already found new friends in Durban and a new drug of choice here in Durban. And that for me was like the first time that it didn't, because I did the geographical thing. I flew home from everything was terrible in Stellenbosch, and like my roommates were sad to see me go and everything, because you haven't just like, this was the time when I hadn't quite destroyed everything just yet. So they were kind of sad to see me go, so I flew home to Durban, and it was kind of like, okay, cool, we'll send you to a psychologist, we'll send you back and you'll be fine, you can finish your degree, whatever. I came back to Durban, picked up a new drug of choice, picked up a bunch of new friends. As I slowly went down and down on the scale, my friends followed, suit. It wasn't that I was hanging out with lesser people. It was that I was becoming less and less of a person. I was becoming more disconnected from my conscience, more disconnected from anything that can guide me on like a healthy path in life. And 1 month of psychology in Durban, and I was like, right, I'm cured, I'm fixed. Okay, cool, stepping back to Stellenbosch. I went back to Stellenbosch, flash forward 2 months, no one's speaking to me. I'm threatening restraining orders because they're all the problem, because they don't like me having people over, at weird times, and they don't like it. Long story short, they absolutely hated me. I didn't even say goodbye to them. I just couldn't kick me out because I wasn't paying rent, but someone was paying rent. So my reality is just, it was a mess, everything was a mess. Nothing really made sense or worked. And yes, and then trying to think. And then went back to, so I came back to Durban, for the holidays, and then I was like, right, even though I failed out of that degree, because I failed by the end of the year, I need to go back to the Stellenbosch place because, that's where everything's happening. That's all my new friends and everything are going. So I went back there, and I think I lasted 2 months. I had a job for a month, and I got drunk on the job. I used on the job. By now I was using like 2-3 times any time it was available. But like I was one of those very afraid kind of drug addicts. Like people shared about like how there's it's not different kinds of addicts, alcoholics, whatever. But it was just like I was always petrified, and I know that would have gone. But I always used to like beg other people to go to dealers for me. I'd go and get my wine or whatever, and I'd hide it behind this pretense. I'd hide behind this like, oh no, I'm like a classy alcoholic. But it's like it was such crap. I was drinking like 5 bottles, and it's just a case of. It just kept going, and it's not about how much I keep reminding. It's about what it did to my life, and what it did to my life at the very end was, after everything that had kind of been given to me on a platter, and everything that my parents and people and like my close friends from school and stuff had tried to do for me. I was going to townships in the middle of the night to school. I was driving drunk from Stellenbosch to Cape Town daily, pretty much. I had a job. I had the most menial job as a waiter, and I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even do that. Like I hear people getting degrees and stuff, and I don't understand because I couldn't even be a waiter and do nothing, like do absolutely nothing else. I was studying wine at this time because I was like some connoisseur because I fucking drank so much. Anyway, so I was properly twisted. So the second time now, I wrote down this long list of everything that's wrong in my life, and then I just like highlight the one big problem, and it's because of alcohol. It's all because of alcohol, because that's my problem. If I just stopped drinking, I'd stop telling these stupid lies about how rich I am, and I stopped telling these stupid lies about. I'd stop being an arsehole. I'd be able to be better friends to the people that I'm friends with, and everything would be peachy, if I just stopped drinking, if only. So I wrote all that down, and I called my dad again. I did the same thing. I'm like, I need to come back to Durban, and I need help. And I was serious. I was broken. I was absolutely distraught. I was in places that I never thought I'd be. I was doing things I never thought I'd do for drugs. Like it was a case of like it didn't seem like a huge deal at the time. The things that I used to do to get a bag or something like that, it just didn't. I had so little self-respect and so little respect for my body, or so little respect for anything, that the things that I was driven to do, it didn't seem like a big deal. Looking back, it's something that I actually have to address, because that's not who I want to be. I don't want to live in that anymore. Anyway, so I flew back. I didn't even make it home. I went straight to the bar. Went straight on a date with someone. Ended up sleeping over at my house with that girl on that night. I was at home a week, and my parents were like, go to another psychologist, just go to another psychiatrist, try something, just maybe get some meds or something, and fix the problem, fix the depression, or fix whatever, and then we can deal with everything else. And I don't know, I just went out. I the last time I went out, my ID had been taken away, my cell phone had been taken away, my wallet had been taken away. I went to a bra at a long-term friend's house in a nice estate. After the bra, I said, can you drop me off at the club? I got into the club, I got drinks the whole night, because it didn't matter. Because when I was an addict, absolutely nothing could get in my way. Of when I was in that active alcohol, nothing could get in my way. Nothing. You just I would do anything, I'd go to any lengths to get the thing that would make me feel okay. Because I just wanted to be happy, and if I couldn't be happy, I just needed to at least feel like that okayness. And that's a flipping terrible place to be in, to be so dependent on something that's just killing you and eating away at your life, destroying your friendships and families, and you can see it, but you can't Anyway, I came home after that long party. I was at 4 a.m. the next day. I had some huge emotional conversation with my dad, and I was like, you know what, actually this is ridiculous. Just take me to treatment, that last night we went out as a family, that kind of thing, and I had a beer, because it wasn't I had a beer, and it was just I was just that's my reality, is that I when I was around, I don't know, it was just that's just how it went. Pitched up a treatment the next day, and I came to treatment here, and that's kind of where it's all about. For me, it's all about what changed. And I think the biggest thing that changed was something I'm not even mildly involved in. Is I was opened up to an idea of me not running the show. Something else taking the wheel. Something greater than me giving that direction in my life. And they call it God, and they call it conscience, they call it people in the fellowship sometimes helping you with that, your sponsor helping you with that, all of that kind of thing. And that's what I was introduced to. I mean, I remember the first couple nights here, I remember my roommate trying to explain to me that you're an alcoholic, you can't drink anymore. And I was like, maybe you can't, but I studied wine, and I was ridiculous. I had a wine collection, all that kind of stupid stuff, and I was adamant that I was going to be able to, amazing. My roommate was absolutely amazing. He was so incredibly patient with me, and he really helped me to change that. He helped me change that pretty quickly. In the first couple of days, he helped me to see how easy it was to relate to people, and it didn't matter what exactly they'd used, because we all used for the same reason, and it had the exact same effect on our lives. And when I came in here, I hadn't lost my car, I hadn't lost my family, also and I hadn't lost any of the material things necessarily. I still had a couple friends. I had on the outside, the life was shiny, I was living whatever dream that I'd concocted. But inside, I was broken. I begged to come here. I begged to go into treatment. I was desperate. I was desperate because there had to be a different way. Because I had everything. I was dating someone. All of those things that you have on your list. I want to have an apartment. I had my apartment. I want to have the girl. I had that. I had all that. And I honestly, I just remember sitting there, just trying time after time to thought it would be fun one night. Got a bunch of painkillers from the doctor. I thought it would be fun to just swallow all of those. Anyway, like because that's kind of space I was in. No self-respect, kind of just piteous like attempts of like suicide and those kinds of things. And that was terrible, to kind of live in that. And it's kind of like the disease, and that's why I was so desperate to get out of it. And this place did give me a solution. This place was incredible. Because I needed the tough love. I needed people to not put up with my shit. I needed to be told no. I needed to be given some firm suggestion. I needed to have consequences for my actions, because I'd always try to avoid those, And the powerful thing that I think one of the things that really opened my eyes and like shut me up and shocked me was when I saw the reality. You sit in the meetings, and you hear that you need to find a higher power, and I'm like, oh okay. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then you need and if you don't, jails, institutions, and death. I think that the incredible thing about being here is that, like, in the space of being here for 3 months, like there are people who died. Not that that's incredible, but I saw that, and you're close to these people, and you don't want that for them, and they don't want that for them, But that's the disease. It just happened, and people that I was in treatment with ended up in jail and that kind of thing. But because that's the disease. It's because, and I remember when this happened, it was like, why are you so shocked? Because my roommate passed away when I was in treatment, and it's like, why are you so shocked by this? Because this is the disease. We're telling you this every single day. Like, why is it such a shock that when it actually goes and happens? And it woke me up to the reality of the disease, and it woke me up to the reality that there actually might be a solution within this. Why? Because I actually respected the people that were giving me this information. I respected the people that had years of clean time. And I began to see a life that I'd never seen before, that I valued more than anything, like financial, material, anything like that. I began to see people who had lived through what I'd lived through, and who through the grace of God or something had found this like they respected themselves. And because they respected themselves, it was like I could respect them. They had like they had happiness. Some of them had families, so they had like healthy relationships. They had things that for me were always like I can't have that, can I? Like I can't genuinely like I'd see some people in the meetings who quit smoking, or I'd see some people in the meetings who had such incredible, loving, happy, like those lives that I was never really a part of, because I was by the side, having a cigarette or doing something like weird. I don't know, like always feeling like separate from. I saw these people, and I had what this place gave me more than anything else. It gave me hope, incredible amount of hope, that my life didn't have to end when I was 21. When I came, I didn't have to end. Like the best days weren't in the past. That there was actually a potential for me to actually make something of my life, something worthwhile, and something that wasn't necessarily, like it wasn't like just for me. Like I see people who've been in the rooms for like 10, 20, 50, like whatever years, and like it's like, imagine how many people, how many families and that kind of thing are whole because of just the fact that they're clean, just the fact that they come to the meetings, and just the fact that they're here, and I think of their families, think of the incredible things that have happened through the people who take faith and believe in this program, and yeah, I don't know, just gave it a chance. When I left treatment, I did exactly, I did what I was told, I abstained from a relationship for a year. I did kiss someone, to be honest, but yeah, I abstained from a relationship for a year. Like it wasn't perfect, don't get me wrong. Like I took suggestions. The reason the suggestions were there is because it's like practicing spiritual principles. Now I've started playing squash in recovery, and we practice all the time, but we're still not the best, So like it's like just trying and trying and trying again, I've made mistakes. This past year has been awesome, because it's been a case of I went out, I did what like they say, like I went out, I introduced myself to everyone at the meetings. Whenever anyone invited me, to those bras and everything, I was just like, yes, I'll go, and I went there. And through that, I met people like me, because I'm, me, special and different and everything. I met people like me, and I met people that were like me on a spiritual level, not people that fit like whatever bank account I was trying to aspire to, or not people that fit like some, I don't know, whatever it may be, not people who are attractive or something like that. I met people, not that they aren't, not saying my friends aren't pretty, I'm sure they're pretty, but like, they're just a case of, it's just a case of like I met people that I connected with on a different level. That I connected with because they were loving, they were interested in similar things to me, and we could spend time together. And like I got liberated from having to put on things, I got liberated from having to like put on some show all the time. And it's like, it felt so good to drop that, like surrendering to the incredible like powerlessness of drugs and alcohol, working through the written step one and everything. Like it's obvious, time and time again, alcohol beat the crap out of me, And I think surrendering to the fact that I don't have to put on a show for people to love me, or for people to be worthy or to be accepted. That's been awesome, and that only came from pushing myself to get out there and to make friends with people in the fellowship. And like that's exactly what I did. I basically deleted everyone off my Facebook. It's not like I deleted everyone off my Facebook except like 5 select people who'd been my long-time friend. And I changed my phone number, and I did just that. I spent all day, every day with people in the fellowship, and I didn't have a job yet, so I started doing community service work up the North Coast. And for the first month of recovery, that's what I did on a day-to-day basis. I was of service, and I spent as much time as I could with people in the fellowship. Wasn't perfect, Like I still got angry, and I'd go home, and I'd you're trying to make those indirect amends to your family, and it doesn't always go perfectly because you still get angry. I've still done that kind of thing. The most incredible thing that's happened for me in recovery with my family has been the fact that I have a relationship with them that is no longer. There's a relationship. Like they're allowed to not be okay because they don't have to be Superman. My dad doesn't have to be like constantly, like putting out all my fires, constantly like taking me and rescuing me and that kind of thing. So when I go and ask him, how's your day been? It's a case of like, he can have a shit day, and he can talk to me about it because I've actually got a job. I got a pretty humbling job, as was the thing. I was a cashier at a little coffee place, and through working, the most imperfect of programs, and through just going there every single day, getting there on time, putting my best foot forward, apologizing when I was wrong, because I was wrong. Like, I made a lot of mistakes. It's just a reality. Things have blossomed like I had no idea it was even possible. Like I didn't know it was possible. And I now work for the same company, and I'm about to get quite a big promotion, and that's pretty cool. And I work as a salesman for the company, which is awesome because it's just something. It's just something that like I didn't expect. It's something that I didn't come up with because in my natural state, when I'm doing my own free will, when I'm not open to suggestion, when I'm not open to that voice in my head that's telling me like, maybe don't do that, maybe don't lie, things don't go really well. So yeah, it was so it's been incredibly like awesome, like at work, because I actually to feel like it wasn't like someone handed me that on a platter, like to feel like I actually worked and achieved something. I remember when I was in treatment, I was sitting with a close friend of mine, and we were talking honestly about things. And like when I pitched up in treatment, I was an absolute failure. I'd never achieved anything in my life, I was on my down and out, and that's the reality. And through going to, it was literally a case of I took suggestion, I went and got the sponsor. I speak to my sponsor regularly. I have friends in the fellowship, organic friendships that blossom because that's the nature of the ability to relate to these people in this program. Friends who call me out on my shit, and friends who I call out on their shit, and people who I fight with, and people who I've made it through those fights with. And like that's the awesome thing. It's like it's not like these friendships are like these perfect things. It's like I can fight, I can change my mind, I can do things and then realize that it's not okay, and I can grow. And that's a lot of freedom that's been given to me through these friendships. But things with my family have been incredible. They actually enjoy spending time with me. I go well sometimes. I go for lunch and that kind of thing with my dad, and that's awesome because I never had that before. Me and my mom spend quite a bit of time together, and we like there's a case of like me involving them in my life, and being involved in their life. So I'll go around, have a round of golf with my dad. I'll go for a walk with my mom. Those kind of special, simple things. So I'm trying to think what else. I started studying again this year. I don't know how much time is left, but I started studying again this year. And that's been pretty cool because part of that's the indirect amends of to myself, for being a failure, and the big indirect amends is to my parents actually respecting the fact that they are willing to, this is the third degree, so they're really putting a lot of hope and faith in me, and it's so far so good. I've been working to really try and balance everything. My life is full. My life is obscenely full. My life is more full than I ever imagined it could be. It is a case of literally just non-stop, like at some point you got to establish the boundaries, the barriers. At some point you have to be like, no, you need some alone time and that kind of thing. Because it's just a case of like getting a life. One of the best suggestions I ever heard was, I remember it was given to a friend of mine in treatment by his counselor. He says, go out there and get a life because you're a low life. That's what you got to do. You got to get a life. So this whole year has been like trying to go out there and do just that. Because I didn't know what music I liked. I didn't know what movies I was into. I didn't know the kinds of people I enjoyed. I didn't know how to stand on my own 2 feet. And this year has just been facing life in these awkward situations and these weird things and facing, I don't know, just facing everything without drugs and that kind of thing. It's been difficult at times, but it's definitely been worth it. And the reason I was so emotional coming up here is honestly I know that there's some point I think today has been really dawned on me. It was this is not how I roll. This is this is not I'm not the successful person, the person who goes up and gets the awards at the sports things. That's not me, the person who gets that's not me. So to actually be doing something and to be a part of something so powerful and to actually be 1 year clean, I'm what the fuck? It's because it's definitely not me, And I'm not perfect, but I'm and that's pretty obvious, but I'm open to this program, and I go to my meetings, I went to 8 meetings until I was 9 months clean because I was petrified. When I got out of treatment, I'd been washing cups for half the time I was here. I was concerned maybe 50 times. I got banned from being concerned and from concerning people. I didn't have a rosy journey here. I'm not going to lie to you. But the reality is that the program that they taught me worked. It didn't fix me. It didn't make me perfect. It didn't make me but it got me clean, and it has got me on the road to working through the character defects that I have. It's got me on the road to working through how honest, to being more honest, to being less dishonest. Because my dishonesties are often in the way that I present myself to people. I almost want to come across you want to come across cool, and I'm not cool. I'm socially awkward. So being more honest about that kind of thing is I don't know. It's working towards honesty. And the program, the first thing, the miracle of the program that my higher power have done for me is to get me clean. And the second miracle that has been happening is working on those defects. Because those defects are what make me feel separate and apart from. When I'm dishonest. And I've realized, you realize as you go, well for me it's been I'm realizing sort of as I go along in this little period of time that when I'm being dishonest, the little things add up. And eventually, when I kind of surrender to it all and I'm oh, okay, that's what I've been doing. And I call my sponsor, he's listen, it's not the end of the world, And we work through it. I've recently redone step 4 and 5 with my sponsor because things were getting a bit messy, And the incredible thing is that it just worked. It just worked. I could go there and I could start to change my behavior, and I could start to see that the behavior was changing. Because when I'm making myself feel separate and apart from, I start to give up. I start to lose that hope that really started burning in me when I was here, and I start to feel I start to feel down and out. The desire to use is not people speak about how the desire to use is left, and at times it's not there. There's many a week in this past year where it's not been it's not been a constant. It's not this jumble in my head. Go have a drink. I've got my wallets and I've got my car and I can do whatever I want, but I stay clean for me and I go to my meetings for me. Because I like it, because it makes me happy. Because it's the right thing to do, and because I feel I need to do it for this fellowship and for higher power, it's just been it's been a hell of a year. I'm kind of excited. I'm still excited, and I'm still sick, so I still need this, I still need the meetings, and I still need my friends. I think the incredible thing about having friends in this fellowship is it's just, for me, that's been like my root. I've had I have friends who have been in recovery longer than me, and friends who've just walked in, and it's been my root because it's not a case of like going to meetings because you have to go to meetings. It's a case of going to meetings because that's where my friends are. That's where my family is. That's where the people that I connect with, people I love are. It's where the people. It's just like going to meetings is so natural in my life because it's where everyone. That's what we do. We go to meetings. We go out for coffee after. We play some board games. That kind of thing. And yeah, that's been one of the biggest kind of roots in my recovery. And I'm blessed to have the friends that I have. I really am. So I'm gonna stop there.
That's perfect.
Cool.